to Transcendental Transformation, the place where spirituality and transformation unite. Host Miss Raina imparts truth so that you can break through your limiting beliefs and evolve into a deeper consciousness. As you go about your day, remember, before every breakthrough, there is a breakdown. And now, let's start the show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Transcendental Transformation. I'm your host, Miss Raina, and with me is my wonderful co-host, James McClure.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Today is Tuesday, December 3rd, 2019, and as always, we are coming live from the Sirius Star System studios here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And you know what? I hope everyone had a great week. I hope everyone's tummies is filled with turkey. I hope everyone, had a great holiday because, Thanksgiving is always about family and always about sharing good times with others. And, I didn't hear any crazy stories about shopping this year, at least so far, at least not this year.
They said it was real good turnout, Black Friday and all that stuff. Cyber, it's some sound like 6% higher than last year, something like that. But it's actually good. The economy, everything runs based on this time of the year. It seems like so. I don't know.
Well, it's
good to be optimistic.
I hear that now a lot of companies are giving out tickets for products. So instead of people just running in and charging and stealing, a lot of companies are giving people tickets so you can go shop, and when your number's called, you go up and you get the item.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Which is nice, right?
Makes people be a little more civilized.
Absolutely. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good.
Did you eat lots of turkey?
Yeah, I ate too much. I ended up eating 3 meals.
3 meals? Wow.
I shouldn't have. Because the next day, I thought I'd feel, lots of energy and all. I was just felt like a rock. You wouldn't do nothing. So I had a good restful weekend after that.
Oh, wow. Hold on one sec. I want to make sure we're supposed. Okay, so sorry. I just had to make sure that Restream was up and running because apparently it's not saying that it's on, but yeah, as long as we're on, we're on. So, but yeah, that's good because Thanksgiving is really a tough time for a lot of people because holidays are up, and for people who don't have families, people who don't have places to go and stuff, it can be a tough time. But you know what I always say, and which was nice because Island Root Kava Bar, the kava bar that we hang out with, actually held a small little Thanksgiving, and it actually had some really good food.
Well, that's where I had my second meal. Now I brought home. They forced me to bring home a bunch of leftovers. So here, when I get home, I had my third meal.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna have it the next day, but I was just like, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, it was. And it's nice, and I always tell people who are single and stuff, go find places. There's always places. And even though I go out a lot, before I used to invite people over to my house that had no families, nowhere to go, because to me holidays aren't really a big thing, but to a lot of people I understand that it sometimes triggers loneliness. So hopefully everyone's Thanksgiving was amazing.
And that was something I didn't even mention, not to change the subject, but last week we talked all about the divorce and how to get through divorce and all. And I was just thinking that this is the time of the year where those feelings really come out because this is truly family. Yeah. So that's the time where you got to reach out and have friends. There's people out there. Well,
whenever there's a death or a divorce or a separation or a breakup, you're always like, oh, this is the first Thanksgiving away. This is the first Yule or Christmas. This is the first New Year's. And you count that first calendar day. So, yes, I agree.
Especially when the season changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, we have a huge show for you tonight because we are going to talk about the unexplained mysteries of Earth and some of the universe, too, because we're going to get into some crazy subjects tonight. And to be honest with you, this is the very first time I have ever talked about these subjects in the 6 years I've been doing this podcast. And, I've always kind of shied away from it just because, I didn't know how people were going to handle some of the subjects and with the direction of the show that was going in. But you know what? I think now everyone is kind of a little bit more open-minded, and that's what we really want here in tonight's show. So if you're listening to some of these, I want you just to keep an open mind. We're going to talk about some of the facts and some of the, questions, and James and I aren't really saying whether we agree with it or disagree or we believe or whatever, but we are going to just lay some cold hard facts and talk about things that we can't explain.
Right.
So,
which is probably like 90% of everything. I mean, if you really look at anything, how much can we explain it?
It's tough. It is.
I was going to make a list of, and I came up with like 50 different things without even hardly thinking about it. When you said, let's do, Mysteries of the Unexplained, I was like, what is that?
and like our first topic is crop circles, and this is a worldwide phenomenon. These shapes and symbols are appearing all over the world, not just in fields, but actually on carvings on rocks, like huge ones in the form of spiders and landing strips and stuff like that can only be seen from the sky. And our Earth, we have so much. I mean, even we were talking to someone the other day, and she repeated what I usually say is, we don't know so much about our own Earth that even we don't even understand our ocean. And I think there's so much for us to understand and try to learn about our world that, a lot of times we shy away from these topics because you're called a conspiracy theorist, and you're shamed about that because, you're questioning things you're thinking. And whether these things that we're going to talk about are true or not, I think that just to have some educated thought about it, I think is very healthy for the mind and soul.
It is. And you were talking about, like, say, the crop circles, that you could only see them from the sky. I happened to read something today. With the AI, artificial intelligence, drones and things are able. They found, I forgot exactly where, but it caught my attention. Something like, I don't know, 36 or quite a few figures. Like figures of like an Indian or a snake, or a lizard killing a snake, fighting with a snake. Different things like that were drawn, and there's something like half a mile across, or 600, 800 feet across, and all that the AI was able to piece together. Hey, you got a pattern here, and then so they studied it more. It's like filling in the dots. These were patterns that the human eye couldn't really see.
Yes.
So the AI has found even more. Just probably someone said, let's try this thing.
Well, a lot of crops.
Crazy.
Well, a lot of crop circles and a lot of shapes that we find that are mysterious are all mathematical problems or mathematical symbols or
lots of times, sacred geometry.
Absolutely. And the one in California one of them that's in California, you bring that up, was actually in a form of a computer chip. And actually, what's funny about that is there's Braille in the middle of the computer chip. It looks just like today's computer chip, and this was made. I forgot when the year it was made. I thought I had written down. Apparently not. But it was. It looked, and in the middle you could read the Braille. And if you actually read Braille, it says 5 times AI. It does, and people have said, "Wow, this was made way before today's computer chips are made, and nowadays it looks just like the processors that we have."
They know this crop circle is old.
It was done maybe like 30, 40 years ago or something like that. Wow. And what's funny is it looks just like today's computer chips, like the processors that we have on there. And in the middle it had Braille, and if you do the Braille, if you know how to read Braille, it says 5 times AI. And it's just funny because these crop circles have been known to be like perfect. There's a lot of debunking. A lot of people say, oh, well, someone went into the grass fields or someone went in and did this. But with the precision that they were made and the amount of time that they were made, a lot of times you can't explain it.
Right, exactly. Especially the people at that time.
Absolutely.
The ones that are older. Especially some of the drawings.
Absolutely. There was a crop circle called the Mandelbrot set, and one of them, it was the Julia set crop circle. One of them, which is some type of geometric shapes, mathematical shapes. I don't get into too much of that, but one of them took place in 1996, and what was so unique about this was a pilot was flying over at 5:30 and was talking back and forth to the tower, said, hey, everything's fine, blah blah, and coming back at 6:15, all of a sudden this Julia set crop circle with the spiral, it's one of the more famous one with the circles that were in a spiral and stuff, appeared. So somehow in 45 minutes of him flying over the same spot and then coming back and seeing this.
Yeah, I never heard that. That's interesting. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, have you ever seen the one with the circles?
Yeah.
It's a Julius and it
I
looks
think
like
I
a
know the one
spiral.
you're talking
Yeah.
about. It's real big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just, how could someone humanly do it? And it's
Crazy.
perfectly, all the circles, everything is perfectly laid out. How can someone do that in 45 minutes?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people are going to say, "Whoa, it's aliens." It could be.
Yeah.
We don't know where it came from. If it is from an extraterrestrial source, yes, that could very well possibly be. If it was human made, I would love to know how we did that.
I know.
In 45 minutes, because that's tough.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe they're just their way of like it's like a gift. Maybe it's art.
Oh,
them.
it is.
And they're they want us to wonder what it is, but to admire the beauty and the precision and all, and say, hey, we're here in a certain way.
Yes.
We just can't show you exactly because you're not ready. Perhaps it's
Well,
just kind of a.
Well, we'll get into UFOs and aliens in a little bit, but yeah, I mean, to me, it would seem like math seems to be like the universal language.
Yeah.
Because math is math across the universe. You can't change that. We can change, speech. We can change language. We can change writing throughout all of our.
Right.
But we can't change math.
Like the Fibonacci sequence,
Yes.
where everything is based, anything that has a curve in it.
Yes.
Lots of plants and seashells and just everywhere you look.
Yes. Absolutely.
Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, it's
Abs-
crazy. It's based on the sacred geometry of the triangle. When you get the triangle and you expand it out, it starts to curve. It's crazy. And the physicists are able to prove way back then all of these, and it's getting a little off the subject, these geometric shapes were sacred geometry way back, and they found it in more than just one spot.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's like 7 or 8 places around the globe at
wow.
roughly the same time in history. Different civilizations with the same symbol.
Yeah. There is more to our life, and I've always said that whether we're talking about extraterrestrial life, I believe in extraterrestrial life. I don't believe in the vast universe that we're the only beings in a whole gigantic. Our universe is so big that even in our solar system and our galaxy, we're microscopic. So I have a hard time believing that we're the only things in this universe. And so, I mean, you look at all these different things that are going on, and there's communication because you go back to Roswell, and Roswell there's called the thing called the Roswell Rock, and basically it has it has a logo. And they actually found the same logo in Cheslin, England on August 2nd, 1996. So they have this rock and then the same logo, pretty similar to what you're saying, in the same places at 2 different times. And it's like, how did you, before they even knew about it? So how do you get that? How do you get one logo here and one thing here over and over?
It has the symbols you're talking about, like a little triangle, different symbols, like a language.
No, it has a logo. It has a specific logo.
Yeah, like a word.
Yeah, or like a shape or something.
Oh, okay.
It looks like today's logo is like when you see like how McDonald's has the M or whatever.
Yeah,
it has like a logo,
mm-hmm.
and then it has the same exact drawing or something. And or in the crop circle, it became the same thing. Mm-hmm. So and this Roswell Rock has been known to be secretive because supposedly it was found throughout the crash or whatever and everything like that. And so to have 2 things pop up, like have a rock that no one knows about, and then years later have the same symbol pop up that no one knows. I mean, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
To me.
What do you think about all the people that were going to storm Roswell and then they called it off? But that could have been a messy thing because there is secrets there. Whether it's alien or government or military or whatever.
Yeah. Well, honestly, James, my opinion is I do not like government, and the reason why I don't like it is because of what we've turned into. I believe that in some areas we need government, but I believe that them keeping all this stuff from us for the betterment of our knowledge is wrong. Stuff like this we should know about. We have the rights, especially as United States citizen. I can't speak for every other country, but we have the rights for that. Yeah.
But we need to be smarter.
Yes.
I would say, okay, you're someone. I'm not going to give people all these weird messages, but if you want things to change, then you have to figure a way to do it. I would say you go to school, learn the stuff, and learn from the inside. I mean, get the security clearance, go in there, and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Become a doctor, become a PhD, or become a whatever.
But to shoot, but when the government
if you want
tells
in there,
you,
there's ways to get in there.
And we're not going to get political here because I can get, but I just have a hard time when the government tells you to its people, if you come in any country, if you come at us, we're going to kill you. When a government is protecting something over its people, we have a problem in this country, and we're going to leave that for another subject. But yes,
that's a good subject. But on the intellectual side, there's ways to get that information.
Absolutely,
because it's knowledge, and knowledge is power. So there is ways to learn that stuff.
Yeah,
you gotta be slow and steady, and honest, and have your credentials, and just do it. I mean, get a few people together and figure it out. I mean, it sounds like a spy, but how else are we gonna do it? We can't storm them. We can't. Beat down the doors and all that. Good luck on that. But
dealing back with the crop circles, I just found it amazing. And there was two guys one time. They're named Doug Bauer and Dave Churley. And what they did is they tried to claim that they were the culprit behind all those crop circles. And when they asked them, they said, "Hey, okay, well, if you're really the culprits and stuff, do it for us. Recreate that." And not a single one could they recreate the way it was recreated with the precision of everything.
Right. They made a small one, but it took them all night long.
Yeah, and the amount of time.
And there was a way to do it, but it was lots of.
But it still wasn't as precise.
No, it wasn't.
And that's the thing. There are no footprints, and that makes you wonder. And that's what leads a lot of people to believe in UFOs, aliens, and stuff, is because if these things are communication from something else, they're trying to tell us. And I think personally, if I was a superior race, and I knew that, because we are a judgmental race, we really are, because we're.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. Okay, we're not. But if we're not, if we're such a judgmental race, and I'm a superior mind race, and that I would leave clues for generations and decades to kind of let you know, to break it in,
like a gift, maybe. I mean, maybe we'll see the geometric patterns or something one day, and something will click.
Well, they do. They have a geometric shape that's in the shape of a circle, and it actually represents pi. So if you look at it, you got 3, and it's in precision of the arcs of 3, and then 1, 4, 5, 6. And it does that, and it's like people and a mathematician figure that out. They're like, oh my God, these are all the arcs of pi.
Yeah, that would
and be even with the decimal point.
We could do that for one of our upcoming. Discussions, like get into the depth of the sacred geometry.
Oh, that would be nice.
Because they found it. There's this physicist that's found. Yeah. Again, it's in like 7 or 8 different countries. The same symbol.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's very, very, very advanced mathematics.
It is. It's
way back then.
I mean, and if we go into our next topic, UFOs, you got to think about how much, if a race is coming at us, if other planets have had billions of years or millions of years ahead of us, and they've had just the same intelligence, and they were able to grow, you got to be able to think that that math is a way of communication. It's a way to understand things, and it's a way to help people grow. Because I mean, think about it. We were talking about this last couple days ago. I mean, you think about all of our history, and up until the 1900s, we had really no technology except for electricity. Just started coming out in the late 1800s, right? And that we had cars but all of a sudden in 100 years, we've made this gigantic jump to cell phones, airplanes, things that are, now you were showing me that military cloak that was like Harry Potter, where they put it on and it makes you disappear. I mean,
it's coming. All this. Yeah, the rate looks like Bitcoin as it started to kick off and before it crashed. But I mean, the rate in the past 100 years is we're approaching a straight line.
Yeah.
I think about 2040 or 2060, it's straight up. So what's that? But anyway.
No, but it's true.
Things are changing quick.
It is. I mean,
technology.
How fast can it go?
Right, before we change along with it. Yeah.
I think that and I think that that's part of the process, especially when it comes to these things. Mysteries aren't really mysteries because we don't have. Well, I mean, mysteries are mysteries because we don't have the knowledge. But once we get the knowledge, it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of common sense.
Right, like children growing up now, they don't question. When they look at the cell phone, they just start pressing buttons and they figure it out. And intuitively learning this stuff, and actually, like I said before, they inherit some of this knowledge from in the DNA of their parents. You know, this guy was good at math, or this guy was good at writing, so the kids possess that. So they, it's crazy how it's working.
Absolutely. So UFOs, did you know that in Manitoba, Canada, it is one of the top UFO sightings in the whole world. They have more UFO sightings and videos from Manitoba than any other place in the world.
Yeah, I think I heard that, Canada.
Yeah.
And I actually heard recently, I should have looked it up, and I'm sorry, it's something like AEF. There's a new term for UFO.
Oh,
like aerial,
unidentified
object, like AEO.
Yeah, I heard that. Yes.
Unidentified object or something like that to make it sound more proper and get a new label on the UFO thing.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, we look at UFOs, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people shy away from saying this, because when you talk about UFOs, crop circles, aliens, all this stuff, what do people reaction to? Either they really were like, yeah, I totally did, or oh, this person's a nutcase.
Yeah, there's two. Yeah, it seems like there's two types of people: the ones that are interested, but there's lots of people like we're almost saturated in certain ways.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've heard all about aliens. I've heard all, and sometimes you're desensitized to all that stuff. And you're like, well, what's the next big thing? And that's what I'm saying. My list was like out the roof,
Yeah, absolutely.
Of unexplained phenomena. I mean.
Well, you had what the
thing called the Taos, New Mexico hum. Okay. There's a humming sound. It sounds like a diesel engine in the distance, and lots of people can hear it. And there's other places in the U.S. we could look them up.
Yeah.
They're known for this humming sound. And they can't measure it with a microphone, yet everybody can hear it, and it drives some people crazy almost because it never stops. It's almost like an electrical hum. Other people have said, it may be something with the earth. They've tried to measure it, but they can't pick it up with antennas, magnetic waves, anything. It's a sound.
But that's crazy because I mean
how can you not record it? They said, or at least that's what I read, and I could find that website. I believe it was Wikipedia.
Do you think it has anything to do with the decimal pitch?
Yeah, maybe. Well, why couldn't you record it, but you could hear it? That's what got me. Yeah. It can't be picked up by microphones, but it could be picked up by your ears.
Well,
that's like a supernatural event.
Yeah, because
something,
right? It's the same way because how many of us can't hear, and what we're if we talk about people who we've lost, spirits and stuff, and our loved ones who have crossed over. Why can't they could say something standing right behind us, and they could say something, but because we're in a different distance, it's kind of like that. But a tape recorder and
may or may not pick it up.
Yeah, can pick it up.
They've had trouble have you really seen a real good recording of a ghost or a microphone? I mean, how do we know? We don't really know.
Yeah.
Maybe our technology just doesn't really pick it up, but sometimes it picks up a distortion that sounds like.
But it's fun. But it's funny. Well, they've had. I've listened to some really good ones.
I have too.
But what I'm saying is it's funny how they can't hear this sound on a thing, but yet on the other flip side, we've picked up recordings of things we can't hear with our ear. So it's kind of flip flop.
Yeah.
Like we can hear this one with our ear, but we can't record it. Whereas other times in other situations,
it's supernatural. It's something that we don't have the physics yet to capture it. But our bodies and our senses are extra. Maybe it's part of our sixth sense.
It could be.
We're more common or connected than we realize. We have this other ability to hear something maybe that is a supernatural type thing that science can't quite explain yet. But I've heard that this sound is irritating. They had a whole group of scientists go there, and they all gave up. They've tried several times to find out what this is.
And we'll talk about the Ark of the Covenant when we come back. We still got 6 minutes, but it's kind of similar to the Oak Island situation with the shaft and stuff, where they're trying to do something. No matter what they do with our technology, they can't get. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But it's funny that the most famous UFO crash in the United States is Roswell. Everyone knows about Roswell, and this took place in 1947, I believe. And what's funny is because people it was like this big chronological mess where the actual aircraft crashed, and then a few days later a farmer went out there, saw it. Then there was like a few days later someone came out, and it was like all these people, all these different military people came out. And what was funny about this is that they told, what was the story,
the weather balloon. First, the
Yeah.
news said there was
Yes.
an unidentified saucer.
And it was in the paper, too.
Yeah.
It said,
I've read it. Everybody's probably seeing it. It says a UFO, flying saucer has crashed.
Yes.
And we don't know. We believe it could have been from the alien life, or it's just kind of vague, just a little. But it was kind of a big heading there. And then the next day, they said, "Oh, it was a weather balloon. It was not even whatever.
But
nothing to worry about."
What was funny was...
So that's the big thing about Roswell. That's where it started.
But what was funny, most people don't realize, a guy named Stan Friedman, who was a military officer, a nuclear physicist in 1978. He did an interview with one of the guys who was at the site, who was reporting to their general after the guy was retired. And he said, you know what? He said, during the interview, the intelligence officer said it definitely was not a weather balloon. It was a disc from someplace that's not from Earth.
Yeah.
And he said that in the interview. And if you ever go check it out, the guy's name is Stan Friedman, and he's a nuclear physicist who was around during that time.
I recognize the name because I recently watched some show about all the different UFO phenomena.
And so, all these things, and I personally think that, I get why if people, hear about that there's other life, and, it could crumble religion and all that stuff, but think about it would expand our knowledge, at least to me. I'm not afraid of things. Like, I grew up in one way of religion, and then I found out it wasn't working for me, so I'm not afraid to lose things and grow if it means that I'm going to grow through knowledge.
Right. That's kind of why we're here. Whether the knowledge hurts you or not, in the end it does make you stronger to know the truth.
Absolutely. But we're so afraid. I have conversations with people all the time, and when I say something that challenges one of their beliefs, they shut down. It's like these deer. And imagine if the government just came out, or if UFOs landed, kind of like an Independence Day.
Well, people wouldn't believe it at first. They'd say it's a hoax. They would question that. It would be, and then they would say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy. It really is the government." Making us want to believe that it's UFOs. It's really their own craft.
Unless they landed over us, like I said, like Independence. If there was literally spaceships over all our cities,
and then they happen to be hostile.
But that's another thing. We don't know. And I believe personally that just like here on Earth, I believe that there's benevolent other aliens out there, or extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call them, people or beings. Let's call them beings. And then I believe there's also malevolent ones too, and I think that's everyone in the universe. It's not always going to be these nasty aliens coming down and trying to kill us versus
Right. You have to think about the creation, wherever it did come from, the life force and all. It's benevolent in a way. It is loving. It's creating. So this ability to survive is more, and this is my belief, is more based on love than it is on fear and darkness and aggression. Because to rise to the top, you eventually have to. But
that's what that's from someone who understands a little bit more, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people, the fear to survive creates that chaos and creates that thing. So you're looking at it from someone who's learned and grown compared to someone who hasn't. And there are species out there, just like
entire
animals,
planets that might be hostile. You don't know, just like certain countries or certain groups.
Absolutely.
You don't know.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages from the life of Raina.
A message from the life of Raina. We live in a world faced with many tough challenges. Our lives become chaotic and filled with disaster ever so quickly, most of the time before we even realize. Our issues beat down our mental mindset, and an imbalance of emotions become prevalent. The life of Raina is dedicated to helping people on the deepest spiritual level. Miss Raina, the creator of Transcendental Development and Growth, works on your core issues and finds the solutions which allow you to break free from the emotional bondages of life, helping you achieve the life you've always wanted to live. Isn't it time that you lived life for you? Call the Life of Raina, 561-846-2190, and schedule your appointment today. That's 561-846-2190. or email thelifeofraina@icloud.com.
All right, everybody, we are back. If you're just joining us, you're here with Miss Raina and James McClure for Transcendental Transformation, and we are talking about the unexplained mysteries of the Earth and universe. And we were just been talking about crop circles, UFOs, Roswell, and you know, it was one of the funniest things is when I was doing some research. You know, you remember the Phoenix Lights, right? Do you remember those UFO sightings? It was like in a V shape.
I think so.
And the government was trying to say, "Oh no, we were shooting flares," but it was hanging. They were sitting there for like several minutes, not moving, and then they were coming on and off, and
was that the one that was over Los Angeles?
No, it was over. Okay. It was over Phoenix.
Yeah.
So it was in a V shape, and it had 6 lights, 3 big lights on each side. So it looked like a kind of like just like a V.
Okay.
And they were trying to say, and there was also a light, like here was the ship, and there was a light way over here and all of a sudden you see the lights start moving, like coming on and off and stuff, and then all of a sudden this light way over here that has nothing to do with the ship goes straight up in the air, just takes off.
I think I remember that. Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that. There was also an incident in Los Angeles.
Which one?
That was famous, and I don't know the exact year, but there was. Supposedly the military was shooting at this craft.
Oh, really?
And it wouldn't budge. It was just sitting up there. I don't know why they're shooting at it, or what really that other craft was, but I think it finally just left or something. Yeah. It was a bunch of lights, a bunch of shooting. Yes. It never shot back. Yeah. It just kind of stood its ground and left.
But you know, you look at these situations and they're fascinating to me. Whether whatever it is, whether it's military, whether it is actually, you know, UFOs, whatever it is so fascinating because it kind of makes you want to wonder in life. You know, if we found out everything in life, it would kind of be boring already.
Part of me wishes that we don't know because it gives us something to just like believe in or dream in, like a child. I mean, we're all growing up.
Well, some of
us. Some of us are growing quicker than others, but to keep that curiosity, to be childlike, not childish, but childlike.
Yes.
You know, in wonder.
Yes.
Open mind, open heart. Those things, you know, gives us hope. You know, knowledge can be good for us.
Oh, knowledge is, and that's what kind of aggravates me about this stuff. And you know, I want to go on to the Ark of the Covenant because the Ark of the Covenant is told in so many different stories, but the most famous is by the Christian religion, you know, with the Israels and the Jerusalem and all that stuff. And you know, it's funny because you know this object is supposed to in some stories it's supposed to contain great knowledge. In other stories it's supposed to be a machine of fire and death and great power. And you know, and I think that our knowledge and our comprehension of what it is, I think it's lost in translation because you know, if it's kind of like it's kind of similar to that telephone game that we used to play as children.
Oh yeah.
And you look at it and you have the factual information, and then because people don't want you to know or they want to exaggerate it changes. And by the time, you know, 200-300 years later, 1,000 years later, 5,000 years later, the stories have changed so much and people have adapted to these stories on what they feel they want to believe rather than the truth.
I mean, we know, I'm not gonna say, but we know, say the American the Holy Bible, it's, you know, different versions that are different translations, and sometimes the phrases, you know, a few words can change the whole meaning of the sentence. So when you're translating, or maybe some of these stories were passed down, you know, word of mouth. So of course, the truth can get mixed.
It can.
But it's still there, but it's mixed in with all the other parts.
It can.
So that's where you have to be discerning. And
it can. And what if? Well, and I always throw this out, and people get mad at me and stuff like that all the time. But you know, what if all that we believe as far as spirituality, religion, the way our earth is, the way we think life has gone, and our history and stuff, what if all that has been manipulated and created into one big lie so that we don't know the truth because, you know, maybe we're not ready for the truth. Maybe the way people are, we can't handle. Like, I mean, how many times do we have friends or people that we know, and then we have one disagreement with them, and then they don't want to really talk to you anymore?
Yeah.
And so do you think we could handle the truth of
that's a good point. Well,
Yeah.
And would be self-empowered. I mean, if you're self-realized and self-empowered and all this, you don't need a bunch of external approval and consumption and overindulgence and all these issues that we get by trying to go from outside of ourselves, to find the cure.
But that's the thing, and that's one of the things that fascinates me about the Ark of the Covenant. Is the Ark of the Covenant, is supposed to be originally, it was supposed to, the Israels had it, and the story goes is that the city was supposed to be destroyed, and so they took it and they moved it into a cave, and supposedly, it was discovered. It was discovered by the Knights Templars, and the Knights Templars, took it to hide it and stuff like that because they were trained. I guess they were supposed to be monks that were supposed to be trained to, kind of defend. But it's so powerful that people die protecting it. And, there's a couple claims that with the Ark of the Covenant that it could either be on Oak Island, and I know there's a popular TV series. It's called The Mysteries of Oak Island or whatever.
Right, Oak
Island. And then there's another one which I found fascinating because some people think it was moved to France. Some people think it was moved to Scotland in a place called Roslyn Chapel. And then another one is either in Canada's Oak Island. But there's one called Oxum, Ethiopia. And what's fascinating...
I've heard of it.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
And so there's this monk, there's this small chapel, and it's gated. And this monk... the monks dedicate their lives to protecting whatever's in there, and the monk claims that it's the Ark of the Covenant. And what's funny is every monk who starts protecting this thing doesn't live long. And he was showing him, he's like, I already got cat because whatever is.
Wow.
They think it's a machine. It's a machine of fire. This is what they describe it. It's a machine that produces some type of fire energy. Maybe it's nuclear fission. Maybe it's something greater than what we think. That we're trying to get into. But whatever it is, it lets off so much, and I believe it's radiation because they start to die. I mean, they start to get sick and they don't last. I think what they were saying is most monks last probably about 10-15 years protecting.
Well, I haven't heard that part. Yeah, it's fascinating.
It was. He claims, he's like, this is where it's at.
Maybe it's a supercomputer that just needs to be hooked up. It's just in its raw form. It's battery or something that's nuclear powered or whatever. And once we know how to master it, then we'll know how to assemble it. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll be ready for it. But it has to be from a point. Like the movie Indiana Jones taught us.
Yes. Well, that's where
it was kind of cool because that the one that was the meek one got to look at it, right? Not the ones that were aggressive.
Yeah. Well, no, but
the Nazis, remember?
Yeah, the Nazis. But that's where that story came from. The story came from not the actual story from the Bible, but the actual story from the legends, because the legend stories of the Ark of the Covenant is different from the one in the Bible. The Bible has been changed and altered. Yeah. And so Indiana Jones, what is it, the Lost Ark or whatever the title is, it actually, is gone in that area.
Well, the Knights Templar and all that other, yeah, that was pretty cool. That's why that movie was...
And they've said that this Ark of the Covenant is so powerful that when people have opened it, it has actually killed them. And that's why in the scene, when they open it, all these things flew out and the people were mouthed. It makes for good movie.
And that place, the Oak Island place, that shaft, they call it the money pit.
Yes, the money. Yes,
there's something like, I read there were 6 men that have died so far, and they say the curse is that 7 people must die before the treasure can be found. So anyway, there's been...
So am I throwing you in there?
Yeah. There's been several attempts, but as soon as they start digging down the shaft, this other shaft fills with water and floods.
And it is.
And all these disasters keep happening. Even with all our technology, we can't get down there.
But think about it. You have, in the money pit, you have every 10 feet, you have all these wood logs, and then you have a layer of rock. And I forgot what type of rock. I don't know if it's indigenous to the island or not. But you have all this stuff. And every time, once you get to a certain point, there's 3 shafts. And every time they got to a certain point, all of a sudden the shaft breaks and opens and floods it. And they believe it's around 200 feet. And did you hear about that they added paint? They put paint down the shaft.
Oh, yeah.
And it came out 3 separate sides of the island.
Of the island. Mm-hmm.
You
so
know.
it's connected to the ocean and things. Who knows? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that? Do you think do you think the Ark of the Covenant is there, or do you think it's something else, or maybe it's just a decoy to something else?
Yeah, that's a good point right there. Yeah. Maybe when you get down to that shaft, it'll say, "This is where the Ark is. You got to follow this map."
It'll have like a little box. You open it up, and a little
and you're
Joker
missing the
pops
main
out.
piece. So there's a little square that's missing.
It says,
So
"Ha ha! I fooled you. You wasted all your money." But I think that's amazing. And I just think that all these stories, all these different things, and we can go on with UFOs. We're trying to cover a bunch of things at once. But. There's so many stories and so many mysteries to our, not just universe, but to our Earth alone, that it's just, for us to ignore it and for us to just kind of dismiss it and call someone a conspiracy theorist or crazy or nut job is really dismissive of the human mind to grow.
There's a thing called the Bimini Road that's under the ocean that they say may be the road for Atlantis.
Oh wow, yeah.
They see a road and they're trying to figure all that out.
When did they discover it?
Let's see, it was 1968.
Okay.
What's funny is that guy Edgar Casey, which I'm sure most people have heard of. In 1938, he said something along the lines of, "A portion of the temple may yet be discovered under the slime of the sea near Bimini. Expect this to be 68 or 69."
Oh wow, really?
So it was 68.
And that's amazing because we have found how many underwater cities we've found. We have found. I think there's 60 something cities we found. And they're actual cities, pyramids, regular cities, all these stone pillars, and we think that eventually through the plates moving and shifting, at once they were civilizations. Maybe they've sunk and that.
Yeah.
And what if that was it? What if one of them that we haven't discovered? Maybe that road does.
Yeah, there could be entire civilizations down there that are just buried very, very deep. That we haven't got to explore. Talking about 7 or 8 miles of depth of ocean.
Yes, it's tough. It really is. It's a lot of things, and I think that we're gonna be probably not in our lifetime will we ever resolve probably 90% of these, and but I think that imagine if these type of mysteries started to unfold in our lives. I mean, what if the Ark of the Covenant was some type of nuclear fusion or some type of power that we can use to start spacecraft and exploring other universes or other galaxies and everything, and using unlimited power for our cities. That would be amazing.
Some kind of renewable energy that could be self-sustaining, from the environment itself, atomic energy.
Yes,
is here. It's in your hand, but maybe this device would be free energy for all.
Yes.
But
I honestly,
who knows?
but I honestly agree with if there are aliens or extraterrestrials or beings that come from other planets that are superior than us and ahead of us, I would agree. Even as someone from Earth, I don't think we're ready. We're not even ready for the truth about some stuff that happens on Earth. We deny in politics, we deny in religion, we deny in spirituality, we deny ourselves in daily life of facing ours. And you think that we're just going to understand this stuff and be okay with it? I mean, it would be chaos.
Yeah, and even if it was out there, how many people would not believe it? Or, because now we're getting more and more, and we've talked about this before, is with fake news and all this sensationalism and all, we don't know what's next. And what if there is a big discovery? How are you going to trust that it's real? And people are going to be all up in arms and arguing and discrediting each other.
Well, just think about this. Think about what if I'm a religious person and I, hey, whatever you believe in, wherever you're at spiritually, in your evolution and stuff, whatever you need to do to make you a wonderful person, I'm all for it. But I also understand the power of belief and the power of fear and why we hold on to things. This is what I do for a living, and I know that I've had many clients sit across from this table right here and fight me on things because the power of fear and belief were so strong that they didn't want to lose it, because they thought, well, if you're challenging my belief and my belief is wrong, then you're taking away something, and they will hold to it. They will fight you. I've had people walk out the door because they were so afraid to face the truth and let go of that fear of belief. And imagine if we realized that the stories that we've been told all our life, even in spirituality, the law of three, karma, all this stuff. What if all these things we had no understanding, and then we were told the truth? A lot of us would be like, whoa, everything I believed has been a waste of my time.
Right. There'd be a lot of, you could be mad.
Absolutely.
Disoriented, denial. Next day you wake up and you say, was that a dream? It would take time for the truth to sink in.
It would. So the last 15 minutes, I think, let's talk about a little bit about time travel, because time travel is an interesting mystery, I think.
Yeah. They've proven what they think is that it's possible to go forward in time. At least they've done it with particles. They've seen that, the time relative to what's moving versus, say, here on Earth, as we know, the theory of relativity.
Yes.
I mean, the faster you go to approach the speed of light,
and
the slower time goes for you relative to where you are.
And Einstein first came up with that theory on a tram car. He was sitting there doing one of his experiments because he liked to do a lot of thinking. Mm-hmm. And so he was sitting there on one of his tram cars, and he was looking at a clock, and he realized that, the slower I go, the slower time, the time seems to go normal and stuff. And then if I was going faster, it seems like everything around me is changing, but the clock seems to not be as that. And he realized that through, his general theory of relativity, that if I was going the speed of light, the clock would seem to not go anywhere, because you're going, however, whatever the speed, I can never remember the number for the speed of light.
186,000 something.
Yeah, I look it up. I say, oh yeah, and then I forget 2 minutes later. But imagine every second you're traveling that distance, and that's an insane amount compared to what we're used to. So time would freeze.
There was actually something I should have, and we could actually revisit this, but they actually did measure with some kind of atomic clock with the guys going up in space.
Yes.
When they came back, their clock
because
was off by...
Yes, because they have shown that time travels faster the higher you go away from our atmosphere, and you actually, if you were, like, I do skydiving, and they've shown that you actually fall faster the closer you get to the Earth's surface than you do over there. So the time actually, the time changes the higher up you go. And it's kind of, they were showing, one of the theories they show is, like, if you're standing on a train or something, you're watching someone bounce a ball, and you're standing still and you see it, the ball is going to look like it's bouncing in a V, and that to your perception, because you're standing still and the thing's moving. Really the ball's bouncing straight up, and it's the same thing because you're at a higher level and a different density, and that you're actually changing the way the time reflects.
But somehow they were able to measure like that. I'd have to look it up to know for certain, but it's something like they were up in the space station. When they came back, the clock was like, I don't know, maybe 1/1000th of a second difference, or something like that. It was minute, but it was measurable, because these clocks are completely accurate to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
30 digits on the right of the decimal.
No, but it is. I mean, you think about that. If we were to take a spaceship and blast it off at the speed of light away from Earth, and then we were to come back, time would have gone by so slow for us, maybe like a year or two. And when we come back, and this is proven, that if we came back, it would be hundreds of thousands years later. Because of the way we're traveling. So really, the speed, the way we're traveling really has everything to do with time, it seems like.
Yeah. Time is the other dimension. When you're doing that, you're crossing into the fabric of space-time.
Yes.
In other words, it's length, width, and depth.
Yes.
That's the 3 dimensions.
Yes.
The next, they say, is time.
Yes.
Which is we see time as a constant right now, but it's actually a structure of measurement, that can be, depending on where you're at, is how fast it's moving.
Well, you got to think about that. When they take the fabric of time and space, and they put a very dense, like even if you put, like if you take a piece of paper and what we're saying, and you put a big heavy marble in the middle, and then you put a smaller one out there, because the fabric of time, like space and time, are bending, they really are starting to believe that maybe gravity really isn't an actual thing, that because the space fabric is bending, it's pulling the planets around, because if you put a smaller marble down, what happens when the thing pulls it towards it, right? And so, so it kind of, and that's what they're thinking about the theory of space, time travel too. If it's possible, you would have to actually bend the actual fabric of space in order for it to create, you know. And we can get into like 0-point energy and all that stuff at another time and that, but 0-point energy is another theory that kind of creates that wormhole, or in retrospect with general relativity. And so but again, they have all these theories, because some say that if we bend space and we create wormholes, that the wormholes actually fall apart by our laws and actually create black holes. And so what if what if some of the black holes that were maybe have been created by that already?
Exactly. You never know.
Absolutely.
But then they said they with mathematics and all the physicists and all, they say going backwards in time would be a huge task. There's theories on what ways it might work.
They were saying that you have to spin the black holes in a I believe it's counterclockwise way. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But they were saying that you had to take 2 points of the wormhole and spin it as fat, almost to light speed, and it actually turns back time, so when you enter the current one, you pop out back.
It was kind of something like that, and you had to get in the wormhole to get it to work. By theory, they say it might be possible, but the one going into the future, they do actually believe there's a possibility of traveling into the future. Not now, but say in 100,000 years when we have some kind of technology. Who knows?
Well, they're trying to find you. Have you ever heard of tachyons? Tachyons are hypothetical particles that are supposed to travel faster than the speed of light. And so they're trying, they don't know if these exist, but if it does exist, then this is a possibility, because in order for us to create a ship or something, you would have to maintain that constant speed of light. And where would we get that fuel from? There would have to be some type of particles or something that we could use to create that type of fuel in order for us to create time travel.
So that's the main obstacle right there, is building something. And how would your body react going that fast?
Oh my God. And imagine the G-force. I mean, people don't like roller coasters when you get stuck back all of a sudden, like the Rock and Roll coaster at Disney. I wasn't expecting. I was sitting there and all of a sudden it took off, and I was like, my stomach, I was like, oh my God. And that was only 60 miles an hour. Imagine if tachyon particles were real and you took off faster than the speed of light. Oh my God, that would be so horrible.
You'd be like, wait, and you'd be already here.
Oh my God, I would be so sick. I really would. And I love that stuff, but I'd be so sick.
They'd have to build an environment around.
Oh yeah, they would.
Around you.
They would.
To protect you.
They would. But I would be sitting there and be like, whoa. But it would really be tough. But there's all these theories, and the wormhole theory is kind of checks out, but at the same time there's a lot of errors in the theory of a wormhole. And just and I look at one of the questions that I ask about time travel is, why is time travel so interesting? And I think it's probably because we're always so interested in the past or the future. It's like our lives today are so boring that it's like, oh, the past, like we always think about the 1800s, the 1700s, especially girls, the dresses and everything, but we forget about the poverty and the sickness, and there's no medications. And then the future seems cool because, hey, what are we going to have? But, I think we forget, and, and what about the theory of, hey, if I can go back in time, I could erase what I've done. Or I can change what I've done.
Yeah, and that's where they doubt, because, I forgot what the theory or the law is. If you change one thing, it can have a ripple effect across.
And the butterfly effect?
Yeah. Anyway, so it might be completely impossible unless you're multi-dimensional. You go to another parallel universe or something. Who knows? Yeah. We don't know.
Well, we
mysteries of the unknown we're talking about, and there's millions of them. I mean, I came up with about 30. Just thinking.
Well, I think that if time travel was real, it would be happening already because, and I could be wrong, I'm the first one to admit if I'm wrong. But I always think that if in order for time travel to happen, time would have to be linear. Everything in the universe would have to be taking place at the same time, because if I go back in time, that means those people are still living. If I go in the future, those people who haven't been born yet are living. And so in order for time travel to happen, everything must be happening at the same time. So if that is possible, like we were saying the other day, is it possible that all we're doing is perceiving time is just going at certain moments in our consciousness? Oh, here's a moment now, here's a moment here. Because hey, we wake up and all of a sudden 10 years have gone by and we're like, damn, I'm 40 years old, what the hell happened?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about the other night, where my theory on multiple, it's getting way out there, but multiple lives and reincarnation. Maybe you do that. These lives are going on currently, but you go back there, so the past is still moving. It didn't really finish.
Absolutely. but that's the thing is we look at that, and I think because we had some more stuff that we really want to talk about, like curses, spirits, reincarnation, people disappearing, like the Bermuda Triangle, and I think maybe we should save that for either next week or maybe we'll continue on another day. But I really want to talk about that stuff.
What about the Mission Malaysian jet?
Oh that too.
We got so much going on, and this was a big one. I'm like, wow, this was only just 3 or 4 years ago.
So maybe we'll have part 2 next week.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe we'll continue this talk and just kind of talk about other things.
Get more in depth on certain. We pick 2 or 3 and get some more. More things.
Because these topics are so fascinating that honestly, there's so much to cover that we probably could do several weeks on just one topic.
We could
alone, and
it's unbelievable.
It is. But it is. When we kind of think about everything, and we're going to wrap up in about 1 minute, but when we kind of think about the way things are going and life is, life is exciting. There's a lot to go out there for. We're all like kind of Indiana Joneses. There's a lot of stuff to experience.
And I mean, how much can you explain? I mean, it's fun just to enjoy it. It's fun to try to explain, but know that you may be wrong. So what? It's here. It's here for you. This life is a gift. So, enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't understand it.
And I like what you said. You may be wrong, and that's the fun of it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were right all the time, how boring. I mean, I'm usually right all the time, but
Except when you're wrong.
Except for when I'm wrong. Yes, exactly. Which is most of the time. But all right, guys, that is our show for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I think next week, like I said, we had originally, we were going to talk about the values of the mind, like the value of a mindset of the words in today's world. So like our effect on how we, how our words vocalize and everything like that. But maybe I think what we'll do is we'll continue to, this week of all the things we didn't talk about, because there's a lot more interesting stuff that and I know you had a bunch of notes that you didn't even get through half of.
Yeah, it's funny how you get fascinated and you can go talk on this stuff forever. But we enjoyed it. I enjoyed our discussion tonight.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you for joining us, and remember to always believe in yourself, and it's not our abilities or our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.